So hi everyone, thank you very much for coming and listening about the growth of the ecosystem and what's going on within Starknet. So, when people ask me why Starknet, the answer is always the same. From the technical perspective, there is always 4.5 reasons to join Starkware. The 4 reasons are the following one. You have cheap computation, cheap call data, that's thanks to ZK. You have account abstraction, which we're going to be talked about a lot today. You have high throughput, 100 TPS and more to come. And finally, what you get is what I like to call credible path to scale, meaning that if you get priced out of your base layer, you know how to move to the next one, which wasn't the case until recently. No one knew what happened if I get priced out. But that's actually not the main reason why people stay. The real reason is because of the ethos. We are extreme scalable, very cool tech, very nerdy, and great tech community. All of you here are here to testify. I'd like to say people come for the tech, stay for the vibe. And this is what we are going to talk about now, the vibe. So this is the ecosystem today. Today you have plenty of projects. Stop counting because at this point I wouldn't know how to, I don't know what everyone does at this point. But most interesting thing is that this is starting to be recognized outside. Starknet is in the top 10, I didn't count, but roughly top 10 ecosystem in the world, and the one with the only growth year to year for the last 2 years across all major blockchain, all major network. More than this, Starknet, despite of the bear market, despite of the fact that we had last year Luna, we have SPX, we had the bear of the bear, we have the high interest rate that brought the market down by significantly, we have continued to see constant, steady growth of the dev ecosystem. And more than this, what you see that you have a lot of very highly committed dev over the years. So, in June 2023, there was 321 dev who pushed on Starknet and a very, very high commitment to, with high engagement. We're going to see there, this is actually the most interesting one. I'm not going to make I try not to make a big. I don't want this data to kind of come out, but this is the truth. Starknet has extremely high stickiness. We have roughly 2.5 times more dev doing 10 commit per month than any other L2 that we could easily count. I'm going to explain what I mean by this. The methodology is very simple. We go on Twitter, on GitHub, and look at all the repo if they refer zkSync, Arbitrum, or Starkware, or Starknet, sorry. And optimism cannot be counted because it's a very common word. So we had a lot of false positive. And so this tendency is actually quite crazy because not only they stay, but they stay a lot more than the other ecosystem. And to conclude here, Starknet is a vibe, sir. And I just want to show, that now I'm going to get into the vibe. Great. A bit of information about the distribution, Starknet at this point is available across the globe. We see devs showing up in very unexpected places. So obviously very strong hold in Europe with a very strong base in France and some emerging markets in Africa. So let's look at continent. We have at this point so this data come from this hidden group that I shall not name that everyone knows. And comes to the data that people filled in when they joined the group. So we have roughly 200 dev out of core stars, which are European. And obviously, we're going to see that afterwards per country with a stronghold in France. We also have a lot of North Americans, mostly the US, and also various countries from Asia, Latin America, and Africa. We're going to start diving into the log version. There are more interesting detail here. Some countries become stationary, some have fast growth. The most interesting right now is Nigeria, specifically Africa, because we have extremely strong growth over there. Let me show you this. So you can see now here the data per country. So we have two very strong countries, France and the US. But the US, you have to remember, the US is the size of Europe. So it's not really a fair comparison. It's actually a lot more interesting to compare based on what's going on in the emerging market. So we have India growing fast, thanks to all the work from all the various teams based in India, GDI Nostra, and also obviously Indian working there. And we see, of course, a lot of work from Turkey with the nice people of Erdau, Fibrous, and all the various work from Yaman and education that we're seeing across all the university there. Poland with all the work from Software Mention, the people from Nevermind, even the people from Herodotus coming from there. The one I was actually wanting to dive into is Nigeria. If you look at Nigeria here, there is straight line. It goes straight. The reason is because when it comes to community building, what you're actually looking for is not you overseeing everything. What you need is a tipping point. When you need one hyper-motivated person that's going to be a catalyzer that will drive the ecosystem forward. In Nigeria, it's very simple. There is two of them. It's Paul Emmanuel and Darlington. Unfortunately, none of them could come, neither all the African community, because their visa got denied. Thanks to Darlington and Paul Emmanuel, we got a community growing in Kenya, starting to grow in Congo, in Uganda, and I'm expecting to see a lot more places. Okay, so now let's vibe. We have 14 minutes of vibing. First of all, did you tweet? So this is an history of Starknet through tweets. Okay, great. So let's start with the OG. The first tweet ever from a partner of Starkware, Tomasz from Nevermind, when he came to Starkware session back in 2019. The first version. Now, 14 June 2021 was the launch, the official launch of Starknet on testnet. 1 month later, a guy from Netanya called Kobi Gurkhan, who is not from Starkware, did the first contract ever called Stardrop, some cryptography tooling. And this contract became very interesting because it was the contract that Scott used to end up second at the ETH Global Hackathon 2 years ago, ETH Paris Hackathon 2 years ago. At the same time, we had our first meetup of Cairo in Paris, which was a total failure. There was like 20 people and none of them were relevant. And remember, Scott is not a sponsor, just for everyone to know here. But Scott is second dev in Starknet, that's true. Then the Marcello. Marcello, September 2021, excited as fuck. Sorry for the vulgarity, I was just quoting what he says. And wrote his first contract. 2 years later, the guy is still here. So now, Guilty Gyoza, the physics engine, kickstarting all the on-chain gaming. And rejoining, kickstarting the whole education. You have to understand that before Henry joined, we didn't even know we needed tutorials. It was kind of funny. Brick launching at the ETH Lisbon Hackathon and starting to already bring the whole ecosystem. Argent announcing in October they're launching on Starknet. Then we jumped directly to June, December. In December, Rules actually, I met Charles from Rules at a wedding, and I paired him to Starknet, and the guy ended up building Rules, which is one of the super interesting non-crypto native dApp happening on Starknet right now. 2 things happened in Jan. GDI Swap launched through Mesh Finance, and I made a very important podcast with this gentleman over there, Sam, which brought tremendous amount of people. Sam, first of all, which we are the reason why we're all here today. Then Mentor, with 2 months later, told me, man, just came to me after a call, after text, oh, by the way, we have an IMM ready. And they're like, what do you mean you have it ready? It was like in March. It's like, oh yeah, we just worked on it. And it was like, dude, what? Gaetan, we now work at Argent, and so on. February, Matteo from Pragma decided he's going to turn into a Starknet influencer and also a Starknet builder. This tweet from Aviu and myself about Circom and Snarks, which brought Fede to DM me, oh, I want to make this. And Fede turned out to work with, Lambda class working with all of us. And ETH Denver. This was the first time we actually had a meetup where people came. A couple of other things, Voyager going live in March 2022, Equilibrium, Pathfinder going live, and started a long train of people hustling on the Discord. My node is live, and sending screenshot of their Alchemy node. To a point where Alchemy is starting to ask us what's going on. We're getting bought into our free tier. Then April, a couple of interesting images here. We have the first meetup with Abdel and OnlyDust. The boat where OnlyDust talked half the community for 2 hours. The hackathon, where not even selected for the final project turned out to be a great company, Giza. This is this DALI 2 by Fran is what became Giza Tech. Bravo's launching. I couldn't get, unfortunately, a tweet because the Twitter API is pretty bad and you can go so much, apparently. And Break winning with the Terrence from Cartridge and the Loot team, the hackathon. Continuing, Cartridge announcing Giza going live, Martin starting to talk about Simp before the old name of Nips. You have Starknet French launching, various things coming from Juno, Yagi from Empiteris who's starting to very deep dive into the space and starting to beginning of all these. This is great code that he's doing lately, which is amazing. What else? Ezra from Singapore launched Seraphi. Uday in India started a bunch of experimentation. Then he joined the PSC at the Film Foundation. SnapshotX showing a lot of code. We have the first meetup, the first content in Thai. Omar, who first appearance in the ecosystem before he joined Starkware. Paulina hinting into what became Madara. And Lucas launching what became VeroSync. Let's continue. It's long. The Didwis Tweetser became a meme. Starksheet came public. Still no one know how to use it. Thank you, Clément. I don't know if he's here. Nathan launched from Snapshot the first Brussels meetup. Oli joined Starkware, starting to great meme-based Twitter that we now have. Lambda class starting working on the Cairo Rust VM. ZK starting a new meetup in Hong Kong. Gabin explaining why you should launch Focus Tree on Starknet, as well as Aurélien, who's explaining why Starknet is awesome. Just to be clear, all those tweets are just a fragment of my timeline. So it doesn't, if I miss you, don't please accept what it is. Gurka, after the Amsterdam event, starting putting stickers everywhere and upsetting Uri. The announcement of starknetCC, which came out of a bet with Uri, in some sense, with some Sam. SeedSwap launching and also their fundraise. Skyro, I just brought this one, it's actually interesting because Starknet is a very nerdy place. It's a very nerdy place. But not all nerdy things managed to break in. Skyro was an attempt to make a compiler from Idris, which is a functional language, to Cairo 0. No one used it, ever. It was very sad. I really tried to push people to use it. Never happened. And Aspect going public too with API and so on. We're in July now. As you can see, basically the whole thing doesn't start to suit anymore. I need to expand the wall on the slide. So Abdel saying he joined Starkware, Kazar launching, the Stark node and all of that. Thomas from Starknet ID using child labor to produce code for ACAR. Tony from Denver working on advanced technical library. Frico, Ben from Starknet also, Aldis also explaining why he's so hot on Starknet and making random video that you should not watch. Software mentioned with Protostar, the Docs, the Vietnam community, Iris launching her game, Nonsense was also what became afterwards with Garaga, with Feltroid, and VM Breaker, which produced this masterpiece that we're going to see. Actually, where is the masterpiece of? I know you produce it later. Then you have the Neo Game, the first meetup in Paris, in London, Apibara going public, OnlyDust launching their first contribution, a whole set of meetups happening from all over the world, and random gaming, a new gaming infrastructure coming up. August, at this point, started to lose track. It was very hard to gather all of those. It took me a long time. I was trying to just grab a bit. Yes, Pragma going public, Cairo VM, Nostra going public, hashtag going public, people starting to dive into multisig with Dolven, Terrence showing up, TechP R1, which became the reason, in my opinion, the reason why we all talk about account abstraction today, not only on Starknet, but all across crypto. This demonstration sort of bootstrap it, like, oh no, we can actually have good UX. Magneti, which is now became Morphine and Starken by Sasha. Me declaring my love to the Indian community for Tollywood movies, which I have to atone for. And Damien in Argentina, who's showing up a lot of interesting stuff. This masterpiece, which I will tear my eye apart for that. September, Game of Life came live, Starknet ID launched. Herodotus won the If Warsaw hackathon with Techno, which was listening to Starknet block as music. Starknet Africa going public with all the base camp that they did in launching community. Darlington joining the space. As I say, with Bootstrap, the Nigerian community, this is why you're starting to see the huge spike. And Ovia, thanks to Guthmann, Phoenix Gill, working on Starknet. Okay. Lisbon, the Hacker House, the Starknet Summit in the Starknet San Francisco, Scott, Kakarot starting. People going in weird memes, Jonathan Lee starting Starkly, the other thing being announced. What do I see again? StarkCon from VKX in India, running, having 800 people in it. Noam Citron launching Helios, which was the base for Virus. The Starknet building, Starknet Chalet, the Kenyan meetup, the Starkware session, and so on. So now at this point, it was too much. 2023 was already too late. I stopped doing that. I was already tired. And now just want to have a look of all the cool thing happening right now into the ecosystem. Garaga, Beerus, Deoxys, Alexandria, Dojo, Karakarot, Madara, and obviously Core Stars. This is the place you want to be. This is where things happen. This is where the magic opera. So, just in terms of meetups, now, in 2023, we have 95 meetups all across the globe, 3,000 participants. So now the question is, what is next? I'm announcing here the Ambassador Program. The Ambassador Program is a group of selected people by the Starknet Foundation to represent Starknet in location. We have people from all across the globe that are supposed to do either event organizer, content creator, grantors, and speakers. The list will be announced actually right here, presented right here. All of those people here have one role and are official ambassadors for the Starknet Foundation, meaning that they are allowed to act on its behalf. Act according to the role on its behalf. So now another objective thing that I want to get in public and people for you to know, which is the traveling hacker house. The goal is to have a hacker house that is much more smaller, mobile, and will happen every month across the globe. The idea is to be run by community members and to run on a tight budget in a very remote places. Costa Rica, Vietnam, and so on, and gather people from the community from there. The goal is to share the community and to bring people in. The kickoff one is going to be the Hacker House in the Starknet Summit that is organized by Danilo, Pia, Gihok, and also Gyurka. And there is a related event that was happening in Zulalu, which is what inspired us to get there. Now the next big event, Starknet Summit. This is where you should go next if you want to feel the Starknet vibe. In the Starknet Summit, there is a hacker house that you can apply to. There is a base camp, there is a mixer, and there is obviously the Starknet Summit. And now, last but not least, we have the onboarding committee. The onboarding committee is the one in the foundation who's managing all those, the ambassador program notably, and also the community, like this early community member program that Diego touched upon. The goal is to make sure that everyone who participates feel included the way it should be. So if you have any question about what you can bring, how we can help you. These are the people you want to talk to. So on those words, the future is bright. Thank you so much for listening. If you have any question, I am right nearby for them.